So to set up a single sign-on user, it's a three-step system to put a new user into single sign-on. And so a single sign-on user just means that we don't have to log in when we're using the different URLs for Matrix. So as a URL or a different page, we have the Matrix Elite system, which is where we house our residents and our census and our billing. And then we have Matrix Care Senior Living, where we house all our clinical. And then we have Matrix Care Care Assist, where we do our actual documentation, our service plan, and our EMR. In order for us to go from Care Assist to Senior Living to Elite, we are now called single sign-on users. To start the process of putting in a new staff member, we always want to search to see if they're anywhere already in our system. You can do a corporate-wide search if you have access to search the user, or you can do the facility search user. So we'll start at the facility level, and I am currently in Madonna Summit, and so I'm going to search for a user named Carol. Carol is a new aide coming to us, and I always want to push this button, include inactive, to see if maybe she was inactivated at some time. You'll see here now, I have no one coming up for the search result. I can go ahead and start my add new user here. It doesn't matter where you start to start signing up your single sign-on user. I could start here or in Elite or in Senior Living. For me, I always like to start here in the Elite side. I'm going to pick her template, and you'll notice these AL ones are designed just for the assisted living, and it doesn't really matter for security reasons if they're certified or not. It's just the template that gives them access to certain areas. So we don't have to worry too much about the verbiage in here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll put in Carol. If she were a nurse, I could put her credentials in here. And then her username for Madonna Summit, they like first and last name with an MS at the end for Madonna Summit. I'm going to use a generic password. Once we make someone a single sign-on, this password has no meaning anymore, but we have to fill something out for now. But this single sign-on number, if you remember, that's what ties the sites together, and that overrides everything. So I'm just going to leave this window open because I still have to create this single sign-on user ID. Where I go to create that is in my KeyCloak Administration Console, and I sent you that very long URL earlier today. And so when I first sign on, you always think you are not on the correct page, but you are. Even though it says page not found and it's kind of blank looking, go to this blue hyperlink and go to homepage. It will then bring you over to this user page. And I'm going to go here to my users, not the groups. And this is your main page that you want to land on. You'll notice here on the side, it has unlock users and add user. When people are calling and saying they can't get onto Care Assist or to Senior Living, the question to them is, have you been trying to log in multiple times and now you're locked out? And so 99% of the time, we just need to unlock users. You don't have to find them, you just need to temporarily unlock all users. So this is where you would start if someone's having difficulty logging in. Most likely this is the problem. They just locked themselves out. Now, this KeyCloak Admin Console is really what houses everything now. It's now going to create the password, it's going to create the user number, and everything we do here, this is managing all the other sites. So no longer will this password work once I create her in this KeyCloak Admin Console, because this is the admin console. This is what houses everything. So first I just want to search for her. And right now Lisa's like, yay, she's making my name for me. I want to hit the search glass, not the view users, because I don't want to view the whole United States. I just want to view these. I don't see anyone. I can now go to add user. I want to make sure I'm using the same username that I used over here. So I want to make sure that this matches, and see, I see here I already spelled the name wrong. I want to go back and make sure it's I-E-R, I-E-R, and then M-S. So I want to make sure that's correct. I might toggle back here and make sure that's correct. As soon as I hit this save, it's going to create this ID. So I'm going to hit save. And here's now that SSO ID that it just created. The only thing left I need to do is go to credentials and set that password. Whatever temporary password you want to set for everybody, you can set it here. We'll leave temporary on because she will want to create her own password on her first login. It's going to ask you if you want to change her password. We're going to say yes. And then that's it. I go back to details and you'll see here, this is my updated. This is where we would come and search for people when they leave our facility and no longer are employed. We need to come here to Admin Console and disenable them. You need to turn it off by using this toggle. And we don't want to use the email through this system because it just doesn't tend to work real well. So just leave the email blank. So if you see update email here, make sure you X that off. And here's the important part. We want to copy this number and I want to come back over to this section and I want to paste it here. Now you'll notice I always look at the ending 6BB and then I come over here and I'll go 6BB. Okay, so it is matching. Now I can hit save. I'm now done in the elite side, setting her up. She's all set to go. But now I need to go to senior living because I need to create a CareAssist user for her.
Oh, I forgot to put the password.
Is there a question? I thought I heard someone asking a question. Are there any questions up to this point? Under the admin console, there is something called role mapping, which if you have nurses or anyone going to set up users, this is the only time you would need to go to role mapping, and you would put that over here and add to selected. So it would pull it here, but she would not be one that would be doing that. You can also come into their sessions and see when they logged in last. But the two main sites are the detail and the credentials for the admin console. So now let's go over to the senior living page and we're going to start in system setup. We're going to start looking for that CareAssist user management. And this is where we start adding our CareAssist user. So here I'll search for Carol. And I don't really see any Carols with that last name. So I can go ahead and hit add user. We have to again put her name in. And I want to make sure I use that same username, whether you copy and paste. But again, the SSO needs to go in here. And a lot of times this is where we forget because it's not red starred, because it's not mandatory. So I want to make sure I get that ID here also. I need to pick my community that you'll be primary at. I need to pick her position. And then these are the tokens for Care Assist, not for the elite side, but for Care Assist. So it's very easy just to select all. And then I start from the bottom because it's a little bit faster. And I have pictures of this in your instructions, but we don't do the narcotic and the controlled substance counting, so we know we can take off all these. I would not want an aide to amend a med administration. And they don't need access to the nurse-only administration. And then this document inventory tracked meds, we don't do that either. So from the bottom all the way after add vitals just needs to come off. And then I would take off the approve orders. After that, they can have pretty much everything else. There is some amending and marking invalid. Those are for the Care Assist to-do list items and the resident task items. That's up to your facility if you want them to be able to do that. I can go over that in just a few moments. But about 42 is about average. Now, if you were a nurse, we would want you to be able to approve orders. So I would put that on. And I would want you to have a nurse only, you know, the next two. So a nurse would be at least at 45. If you give a nurse everything, these don't work anyway. So it wouldn't matter if you gave them access to it or not. So once you're done with here and you hit save, the aides are done. So they have Care Assist now, they have the elite. So if you wanted to have them come in and do that resident CCD, they'd be able to do that report. And she's made in KeyCloak. The one thing is, if you're a nurse, you need to go one step further, or if anyone's documenting in the clinical notes or forms, such as an activity person, you have to do one step further. You're going to have to go to the system setup and go to general and usernames. You are now setting them up for senior living. It already created a name for you. So all I really have to do is just go in and look for her. And you'll see everyone defaults to the Care Assist user role. But if she's a nurse, I'm going to probably give her the CNC role and the Assisted Living DON WD role. It just allows the nurses to do a little bit more. So there's 2 for the nurses, and then her secondary can have the default Care Assist, but the assisted living has both the Care Assist in there already. So it doesn't matter if you just did this one, she would be fine. So you can always come in and edit. And you'll see here that Matrix puts an email in for you, and that's fine. Just don't start putting in emails under the KeyCloak area. Any questions so far? Or would you like me to do one more? Or 2 more? Or do one of you want to take over and try putting one in? Hillary Todd, I don't have the security admin council on my account. Okay, Hillary, is it Hillary, I believe? So let's see why she can't get on to, let's go to role mapping for her, and she's never been given that role. So we can add it to her, and now she has access. So Hillary, if you log in and off, you should be able to see it now. Try logging on again and we'll see if she has it. Does anyone want to try to do one? I'll stop sharing if you want to share and try to set one up, and I'll walk you through, or do you want me to do another one?
You should do another one, Linda.
Will I do an RN setup? I don't have, basically the RN setup is exactly the same, only then you go to system setup, find them under usernames. And that's where you would change their primary role to the WD at the bottom here, assisted living. That's the only difference between the nurse. You know, give them a nurse template here. But all I have are CNAs to set up. But if you ever want me to go ahead and Zoom with you while you set up people, I can do that too. It's just we don't do them very often. And so it becomes a process when you're trying to remember how to do them.